Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Yes, I'm being censored too. I guess that's the claim. You know, Donald Trump recently jumped out and said that they weren't going to stand for conservative media being basically censored or banned. With the recent kicking of Alex Jones from platforms like Facebook, YouTube, you know, which were originally for the terms, basically an abuse against the terms of service, which is allowed by private companies, it's really brought the form of censorship to the front point of conversation. And I think it's important. And I'm just reading over an article here from Zero Hedge, and what they're talking about something called the Atlantic Council. So it's basically, and there's all the names you don't want to hear here. It was used to weed out inauthentic content on different platforms. An organization is funded by various NATO governments and a slew of arms manufacturers such as Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and it also includes names like Henry Kissinger and the former CIA director Michael Hayden. It's consistently lobbied for regime changes in Syria and, you guessed it, Venezuela. And this is where the conversation, I think, really comes to the forefront, because it's not just conservative right-leaning media, it's actually the left as well. So Telcel, which is one of the major newslets in Venezuela, one of the major news outlets in Venezuela, I guess it goes against the U.S. Particular storyline or their perspective. Basically, they're throwing it out too. So Tesla on the other day, Telcel, I will post that in the links below, had their Facebook channel deleted, and all the pages belonging to the independent grassroots Venezuela analysis and Haiti analysis, which are also leftist websites which are highly critical of U.S. foreign policy in Latin America and the Caribbean region. So what I think has been noticeable is that once you really go down the path of censorship and you start to pick and choose what voices of dissent you can control, it's a slippery slope to basically banning everyone. And it's some of the stuff that we had seen in, you know, the books like 1984 or Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World, is that once you start to decide who's news or who's not news, there's no one to stop it from kind of targeting everyone. So on the number 2 order here, you had Facebook is now complying with Israel deletion orders. So last year, journalist Glenn Greenwald reported that Facebook met with Israel government officials to determine which Palestine activists should have their accounts deleted. The Israeli government threatened to enact laws enforcing Facebook to comply with the deletion orders, and if it did not do so voluntarily. So of course, Facebook capitulated almost immediately and set out by deleting these accounts owned by Palestinian activists. Over 158 different requests were submitted to Tel Aviv by Facebook asking for the removal of Palestinian content. 95% of them were granted. And according to the Intercept report, Facebook has been overly concerned with Israel's, again, and even calls. Again, some of these are people are calling for murder or dissension and by attacking people, so there is room for the terms of service to actually cut these accounts. It's not just a government ploy, but either way, this is that slippery slope. Number 3 here on Zero Hedge, it says Google and Facebook censorship leftist socialist websites. So the World Socialist site reported last year that Google's changes algorithms. Now, I've been in SEO my whole life, and Google changes algorithms all the time. So if your site gets hit by those algorithms, it's not necessarily that you're being banned for free speech. So I'm not going to dive into that one because it doesn't really make sense. Google's algorithms are looking more for things like link juice. So if you get taken out because of a Google algorithm, you probably did something shitty. Number 4 here, the legitimate left-wing protests were targeted and exploited. So it says Facebook's commitment to ban fake news and promoting a nice, cozy atmosphere on everyone online, its own decision to delete pages for anti-racist and anti-fascist protests which were happening around DC. The No Unite to Right to DC, a counter-rally against previous white nationalist events in the city, was taken down after the Facebook group decided to display some coordinated, inauthentic behavior. Again, this is against the terms of service to go out and to personally attack people or to incite violence against others. So they do have a legitimate claim, but again, with all of the other bans and hits being taken in the social media space, it's no wonder why people are concerned. Number 5 here, for Twitter actually just jumped out and banned someone. So Twitter had been shadow banning people, even Alex Jones. Jack Dorsey came out and said, you know, because Alex Jones did the same thing. He came out and tried to incite violence against others. He said, get your guns ready. This is a war. And this is, it is, but we have to start speaking, I think, a little bit more literally and a little less with hyperbole, because yes, well, I agree with you, this is a war. There's a war on for your mind. There always has been. We don't need to fight it with guns. We need to fight it by creating things that are better. That's what solutions do. They solve problems. We don't just yell and rant and rave and complain with our eyes red bulging from our heads about the problems. No, it's time to come up with solutions, and often that voice is totally different. It's an offensive move to come out with courteous, conscientious behavior that's loving and supportive, because that is actually a direct attack against all the malevolence in the world, but people often forget that. So here it also says, Twitter recently suspended the account of Daniel McAdams, the executive director of the Libertarian Anti-War Ron Paul Institute. Scott Horton, also the editor of antiwar.com, explained what happened. McAdams had said that the Horton account was suspended after defending former U.S. diplomat Peter Van Buren, who had just been banned permanently from Twitter after heated exchanges with journalist Jonathan M. Katz over what Buren called the unwillingness to challenge government lies. In one of his tweets, "I hope MAGA guy eats your face," he says. Again, this is more promoting of violence, which is directly against the terms of service. So please note that I think what's important here is that we need to learn how to be offended by each other, but your arguments, so for instance with the QAnon video I posted, a lot of people just came out and said negative things against me or just in general. That's not it's not a real argument. There's no supporting evidence there, and all it does is make you guys look like idiots and morons, and that's bad for our entire movement. If you do have some form of substance, don't just come out and say some troll shit. This is the perfect time where we need to be growing up and having adult conversations, because if we don't, no one else will. And this is one of the beautiful things: when we risk being offended, we really learn how to think critically, and we can push beyond what's currently happening. And this is what I think this is what this really needs from us. It needs more speech. You know how we attack things that are attacking our free speech? We speak more, and we speak clearly, and we articulate exactly what we mean. We don't speak from hyperbole. We speak very, very literally, because I think it's important to understand that if we don't do that, we won't be taken seriously, and it's important that what we are doing is taken seriously. This is not a childish debate. Freedom of speech is extremely important. Anyways, this is Tio with the Arcane Bear. Perhaps one of the most, I guess, important things to remember here is that both sides, left and right, are now following down that slippery slope of Facebook and Twitter bans, and I do believe, as being a huge proponent in blockchain, that this will inevitably destroy these big companies, that Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, they have met their end days, and this is what happens. Every time you start to go against the community, and again, you have to support more speech. You should be supportive of people that are saying dumb things. And even though I don't agree with inciting hate speech against others, this is what speech sounds like, and it might be offensive to others. And unless we risk being offended, we're risking our own critical thinking. And I would rather be offended than lose my ability to think and speak critically of myself and others, because that is extremely valuable. Anyways, let me guys know your thoughts. If you like this content, give us those thumbs up. We are in sunny Panama today, just going over our ability to speak freely. So YouTube, thank you for the platform to share an audience with. I know you have your own terms of service because you're a private company, and with that in mind, your algorithms are private as well, and I know those thumbs up help us. If you're new to the Bear family, remember to subscribe, join our Telegram channel. We do keep the chats going down below as often as possible. Again, if you are new here, this content is always eclectic. I've been going over things from financial advice, blockchain, censorship, or not financial advice, I guess more specifically. But this is Tio. We'll see you guys on the other side. I very much hope you're having a good day, because it is a beautiful, beautiful day in Panama as I dive back into enjoying the weekend with some of my good friends in this area. We'll see you guys again soon. Beep.